Hi, welcome to EMS Today 2016. I'm Christina Ackerman, joined by Robert Luckritz from Jersey City, New Jersey. Today we're talking about a really interesting case that happened to your agency. Can you tell us more about the incidents and how it led to these new policies that you're implementing?
Sure. Back in the summer of 2014, we had a very tragic incident that happened in our city. We had a police officer that was responding to robbery at a local pharmacy, and a deranged individual was in the pharmacy and had stolen a gun from a local security guard. And as the officer pulled up, the gunman shot and killed the officer while he was still in his car. This kind of raised the tension significantly, as you can understand, and everyone was kind of on edge. And you know, as the community kind of reeled from this, and we had some police-involved shootings and a few other things, tensions rose to the point that at one point the state police released an advisory advising us that there was credible evidence or credible intelligence that there were gangs that might be targeting Jersey City EMTs and paramedics, specifically as a way to kind of lure the cops into the area.
Wow.
And it was very frightening for us, and we had to make some changes.
So what were the first steps that you took?
Well, you know, we kind of had seen this coming, and you know, we saw the tensions escalating, and we were concerned, and we were kind of figuring out the best tactics. But when the actual alert came out advising us that there were credible threats, you know, you kind of, for lack of a better word, you panic a little bit, because you say to yourself, well, how do you protect your staff? You know, it's so important to make sure your staff are adequately protected and they have the resources they need. But at the same time, you know, you can't shut down an EMS service when you're serving a community of 300,000 residents. And so we had to kind of very quickly look at what are some options that we have. And for us, one of them was we realized that we needed to get some body armor, some ballistic protection. We'd been working on that for a couple of years, but we have a staff of 300 individuals, and that's a significant expense for us. And we were kind of ramping up a program, and we had to immediately try to reach out and get that taken care of. And that was a huge piece for us to kind of, you know, put people's minds at ease and put the staff at ease.
Right.
But beyond that, we also had to change the way that we ran the service and increase supervision. So for every call in the area of fighting tensions, we sent supervisors to provide more situational awareness. We made sure there was a law enforcement response on every call in those areas.
Really?
And as a service that mobile posts, we actually moved all of the ambulances to more secure locations so that they weren't, you know, on the street corner in the middle of the night and unprotected.
Sure. And it sounds like you had a really great response and working relationship with the local law enforcement. Did that help a lot?
Absolutely. That was so critical for us, you know, even to have access to that kind of intelligence and, you know, to be able to work closely with your local law enforcement. Had we not had that we would not have been able to respond the same way we did. Actually, one of the, you know, talking about law enforcement relationships, we had donations that came in the day that the alert came out from law enforcement agencies from across New Jersey that were donating their ballistic vests to us for our staff, which we thought was, you know, a real great sign about the camaraderie and public safety across all of the disciplines.
So now looking more long term, what's coming down the pipeline policy-wise, or you know, new procedures that or training? What are you looking at long term to try to do a more thorough prevention and education? Right.
So, you know, in the long term, we certainly want to do more education. We want to train our providers on situational awareness, on defensive tactics, on you know, how to better protect themselves. And in addition to that, you know, we want to make sure that we have adequate supplies, adequate equipment. When we first ordered the ballistic vests, we had to, you know, get a small cache, and people were sharing them. So in order to kind of ingrain the culture, we wanted to make sure we had enough to issue them to each individual. And so those are the kinds of things we're working on now, is, you know, finding the funding and ramping up and preparing for the changing environment in EMS with the active shooter and rescue task force. You know, these are all things that we need to pay attention to, because it's not the same way it once was.